نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. You guys sound the way we feel, mashallah. It's like you've been sleeping on the floor for the last 2-3 days with lack of sleep, lack of food. A little bit more enthusiasm, please, brother. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's a little bit bad, subhanAllah. Otherwise, we're going to put all of you in itikaf and then watch you scream, mashallah. Scream to go home. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحج أشهر معلومات. Hajj, the pilgrimage, is on known months. Known months meaning Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. These 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, there's mention of it in Wal Fajr wa Layalin Ashr. And it is mentioned by the ulama that the 10 days of Ramadan and the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, most ulama give preference to the 10 days, last 10 days of Ramadan, but some ulama actually give preference to the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, that they are very highly regarded. In these 10 days, or in these 2 months and 10 days, if all the criteria that is required for a person to go perform Hajj, it becomes compulsory on that person. So the finances, the ease of travel, for a woman, obviously the existence of a mahram, all these conditions are met, it now becomes compulsory upon this person to make the pilgrimage to Makkah in order to perform this act. This act is performed once in a lifetime, or is compulsory once in a lifetime. Obviously a person can't perform it more than once. And it is an unusual act of worship because when we see Salah, Salah is a bodily act. Fasting is a bodily act. Zakah is a financial act. But Hajj is combined, both bodily, physically, and also financial. Similarly, it is a state that one goes in. Obviously, those of us who come into i'tikaf, we go into a state in which normal things become illegal. Yani, in the evening, those married brothers can enjoy the feelings of flesh. As for those of us in i'tikaf, we can't. So we move into a heightened spiritual state. As for those who go to perform Hajj, they go into a even more so heightened spiritual state, where they remove all identification of their worldly status. The person's clothing, anything that would differentiate him or her from another believer, that is discarded. In fact, they are clothed in what they would normally be clothed in when they die. Any headgear whatever is removed. And in this state, they have to be at complete peace with everything around them. Whether it be grass in the ground, an animal, or anything of that nature, they are in a complete state of peace and tranquility. We know in Islam, there's no such thing as monasticism. There's no such thing as becoming a nun. That going into the state of ihram is the closest a Muslim comes into detaching from all worldly connections. So the person has to prepare mentally and spiritual for this status. Many of us obviously want to put ihram on last minute and take the ihram off immediately, ASAP. As soon as we arrive, we want to quickly go perform umrah, even though we might be dehydrated, tired. We say, no, quickly, we have to get out of ihram. Well, if you think about it, I know we fear that I might, pull my beard hairs out, or I might accidentally kill someone or whatever. So I don't want them to come onto me. And that's the fear that a person quickly wants to get out of ihram. But to be in that heightened spiritual state, that's why those ulama will say that the type of Hajj, if a person performs Qiran, in which he performs Umrah and Hajj in the same ihram, and therefore he is in ihram for a longer period of time, the ajr for that is greater. Which obviously indicates towards the fact that it is the person being in a state of ihram that is being rewarded for. Because we know that if you perform wudu and recite the Quran and then you perform wudu in order to pray salah, then you are performing a fresh ablution for a new act of worship where there is more ajr. Whereas in this case, you are performing two acts of worship in the same preparation, and yet the reward is more. Reason for that is when this person is in this heightened spiritual state for this long period of time, he becomes at peace with what is around him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions then, فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ الْحَجِّ. So when in these particular 2 months that I mentioned and 10 days, if in them Hajj becomes fard, then فَلَا رَفَثَ وَلَا فُسُوق, then there must be no sexual interactions, relationships, وَلَا فُسُوق, and no transgression and rebelliousness, وَلَا جِدَالَ, and no argumentation in Hajj. Meaning, even these things which are day-to-day practices, we all like a good argument, don't we? Yeah, get up in the morning, you're looking for the first opportunity to have an argument, somebody cuts you up, perfect. Thank you very much, sir. Just waiting for that. So in this case, you got to put all that to one side. Yeah, we always have that little shaitan whispering in the ear. Someone does something, you want to get your own back on him. All that has to be put to one side. Even something which is a halal act, which in fact is rewarded. The Sahaba were very astonished at the fact when the Prophet ﷺ said that man who spends time with his wife is rewarded. The Sahaba said, how can it be that a man is actually gaining benefit, enjoyment, a physical act? Why is he getting rewarded for it? So the Prophet ﷺ said that if he placed that in the wrong place, would he get punished? And the companion said, yes, so then he's placing it in the right place, surely would he get rewarded. So even that thing which is being made permissible, he is putting that to one side. Whom for? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sacrificing all this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But a person suddenly can't stop doing acts of fisq. A person suddenly can't stop being argumentative. You don't suddenly put on the ihram and this halo appears over your head and you hear these angelic voices behind you and you think, whoa, what happened there? You know, you suddenly don't become pious. So the aim is that when one knows that Hajj is coming, or we're planning that Hajj is coming, then there should be changes in our lifestyle. There should be changes. Why? Because we want to be after the performance of Hajj like the way our mother gave birth to us. Yani that we are slate is clean. And that does not mean that we manage our Hajj, meaning, look, there's a few more sins I need to do, so I won't go Hajj this year, I'll go next year. You know, that's like managing your Hajj. You don't manage your Hajj. Hajj becomes compulsory based on the criteria which he has set. Once it becomes compulsory, is a requirement to perform it. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرِ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. And whatever good you do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of it, meaning he will give you reward for it. وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. And prepare for it. Take provisions. Don't say, oh, I heard that that person who goes to perform Hajj is a guest of Allah, so I'm just going to turn up. And the roast chicken will come, the baked chicken and chips will come, the KFC will come, or whatever else that people queue up outside when they go for Hajj. All that I will get without needing any money or anything at all. Wrong. Meaning, take provisions. Be prepared. But the best provision that you can take is having taqwa. So make sure when you're packing your suitcases, put a lot of taqwa in there. Because that person is going to need that. He's going to need to be able to exercise that, because there's going to be plenty of times when there's arguments. You know, us British folk, well, some of us British folk, we like to queue, don't we? So we're nicely in the queue outside the sarraf. Next man will come and, you know, he'll put his money ahead of you and think, there's one off. Next man will do it, one off. Another person, after a while, you think, yeah, what's going on here? Can he not see me or something? And they say, you know, when in Rome. So then you start pushing ahead of everybody else as well. So there's going to be so many situations that are going to come where Shaitan's going to arouse that inside of you and you're going to react, you're going to bite. And remember, Shaitan is relentless. He is relentless. He doesn't need to rest. He doesn't need to eat. He doesn't need to take time out. So he can just be going on at you and on at you and on at you until he wears you down, and then he gets that reaction. So that's why having bags of taqwa is very important. وَاتَّقُونِي يَا أُولِي الْبَابِ, and have fear of me and be aware of me, O people of intellect. لَيْسَ عَلَيْكُمْ جُنَاحٌ أَن تَبْتَغُوا فَضْلًا مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. However, if you do travel for your Hajj, then that does not mean that whilst you are there, you cannot purchase anything. You know, everybody likes to go, I don't know there used to be that bin Dawood or something in those days, that last time I went. Is it still there? Okay, so everybody like queuing up there, trying to get the latest trainers or something. It works out cheaper or something because they come from some other country, I don't know. Or you get all these little, radio control cars. It's been a while since I've been. I don't know what the new fad thing is. Obviously, all my kids are grown up, so I have an excuse now. I don't have to buy them any gifts. Laysa alaykum junah. So if you do go and you want to buy something, then there's no sin upon you, because this is a fadl min rabbikum. فَإِذَا أَفَدْتُمْ. And when you return min Arafat, from Arafat, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ الْمَشْعَرِ الْحَرَامِ. Then remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the places of sanctity, meaning Muzdalifah. وَاذْكُرُوهُ كَمَا هَدَاكُمْ. And remember him in the manner that he guided you. وَإِن كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلِهِ لَمِنَ الضَّالِينَ. Even though you were from before of those people who were deviant. So this is a chance for us to say, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this hidayah. This is a gift. You know, we walk past so many people here, that we live as a minority now. So we see many people who have got so many different philosophies, so many different worldviews and whatever. And alhamdulillah that Allah gave us some level of hidayah, that we have some understanding of what the true reality is. So this is an opportunity to express your gratitude. ثُمَّ أَفِيدُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَفَادَ النَّاسِ. And then go from where the people go. وَاسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ. And seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. For indeed Allah is Ghafoor and He is Rahim. فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُم مَنَاسِكَكُمْ. And when you complete your ritual acts of Hajj, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ. Then remember Allah كَذِكْرِكُمْ آبَاءَكُمْ. Like the remembrance of your fathers. أو أشد ذِكْرًا. Or even more so. Meaning that many of us will recall stories of our predecessors. Oh, my father was like this, my grandfather was like that. And I come from this particular qawm, I come from that particular people, and we're like this, we're like that. فَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَقُولُ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَمَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. And there are many people who raise their hands and all they ask for is things in the dunya. Oh Allah, give me this, I want a car, I want a pretty wife, I want this. Not necessarily in that order. Oh Allah, give me this, oh Allah, give me that, oh Allah, give me this, oh Allah, give me that, oh Allah, give me this. We all have like a different preferential order, don't we? But they get nothing for the akhirah. So it's very short-termism. Yeah, it's very short-termism. We're only looking at tomorrow, we're only looking at next week, we're only looking at next month. I was saying to the young man, he was looking at some of the notes that I wrote. This is my original mushaf that I did my first Quran translation as a student a few years ago. And I said to him that there was a time when I could write so small. Now I can't even read that writing. So, that's how time goes on. So the book is still the same, but the man has changed. Yeah. So that's how time will go on. And therefore, always think of that life which is eternal. Think of that life where a person doesn't deteriorate. Think of that life where everything is stationary, everything remains the same. We see, for example, the time has been created in this world. Why? Because one time I'm still a son, but you know what I mean? At one time I was somebody's son, now I'm somebody's father, and life moves along. Yeah, the train of life moves along. We chug along. New people come, old people go. New people come, old people go. But the hereafter, that life, everything is stationary. Everything remains the same. You stay the same age. You're not necessarily somebody's father. Your relationship doesn't change with people around you. Your relationship also stays the same. It's constant. That's the difference. So why not ask for something which is constant and eternal rather than ask for something which is always transition, always changing? وَمِنْهُمْ. And there's some of them, مَن يَقُول, who say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. And this is a more inclusive dua. This is a more inclusive dua. Why is it inclusive? Allah is not saying don't ask for your dunya. He's saying but ask for your dunya, but also ask for your akhirah. Meaning, and when you make this dua, you say, oh Allah, Rabb, oh our Rabb. Rabb yani the root letter tarbiyah. O our Rabb, atina fid dunya hasana, give to us in the dunya hasana, wa fil akhirati hasana, and also give to us in the akhirah hasana. Wa qina adhaban nar, and save us from the punishment of the fire. Ulaika lahum nasibun mimma kasabu, they are those who will get a share from that which they have earned. Wallahu sari'ul hisab, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very swift in taking account, taking to task. وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ فِي أَيَّامٍ مَعْدُودَاتٍ, and remember Allah in the days, ma'dudat, known days, fixed days. These are the days of Mina, the days we have Takbir Tashriq, the days we go to pelt the Jamarat. فَمَنْ تَعَجَّلَ فِي يَوْمٍ, those people who stay for the 2 days, 11th, 12th, فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ, and then they return, they go back to Mecca. وَمَنْ تَأَخَّرَ, that person who delays and adds the 3rd day, فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ, then there's no sin upon him. لِمَنِ اتَّقَى وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, and have taqwa of Allah, and know that أَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ, that you will be gathered to Him. Time and time again you're getting a mentioning of فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهِ, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهِ, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهِ, وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهِ. Always remembering Allah, always trying to connect with Allah. That's your purpose for going for Hajj. And this is again, like I said right from the outset, that if this preparation isn't made, if you don't put your head in the right space, if you don't get that right mindset, then yes, you will complete the ritual act. And from a fiqh perspective, if you do those certain tasks on those certain days, you go with the group leader says, we're going to do this today, and we all just chug along behind him. Then we're going to do this today, and we chug along. So you'll tick the box, so to speak. You'll complete the ritual task. But have you taken anything from it in terms of your journey in returning to Allah? Have you become that better person that you hope to be? Do you feel when you return back that I am now like the day my mother gave birth to me, that I am now got a clean slate? Or do you still feel, I don't think I've changed. I feel exactly how I felt before I went. So we may tick the box, but have we achieved the spiritual aim from what we went for? وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يُعْجِبُكَ قَوْلُهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَيُشْهِدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا فِي قَلْبِهِ وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ. And we see this now, especially with this day and age in social media, that there are many people whose statements will astonish you in the life of this world. And they will always call Allah to say, oh, Allah knows best what's in my heart. So they'll say all sorts on social media. They'll say all sorts to your face, but they say, yeah, but Allah knows what's in my heart. How can you judge me, brother? Yeah, but you have to judge what you're saying. You've got to judge what you're doing. We're seeing all the boundaries that we grew up with as to how we understood what normalized Islam was. And now, we're confused, thinking, so what, we've been wrong all these last years? So this is how Islam really should be? And we're seeing all changes taking place in front of us. وَهُوَ أَلَدُّ الْخِصَامِ, and he's argumentative, always debating, always arguing. وَإِذَا تَوَلَّى وَسَعَى فِي الْأَرْضِ لِيُفْسِدَ فِيهَا, and when he turns away, then he strives upon the earth in order to cause corruption upon it. وَيُهْلِكَ الْحَرْثِ وَالنَّسْلِ, destroying crops, food, and also lineage, people who come after. وَاللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْفَسَادِ, and Allah SWT does not like those who cause corruption. وَإِذَا قِيلَ, and when it is said to this person, لَهُ اتَّقِ اللَّهِ, have fear of Allah, brother. أَخَذَتُ الْعِزَّةِ, he becomes arrogant, he becomes angry. بِالْإِثْمِ فَحَسْبُهُ Jahannam, then his abode is going to be Jahannam. وَلَا بِئْسَ الْمِهَادِ, and what an evil resting place it is. So these particular couple of verses there, which I just shared with you, nowadays this is what we see, everybody now claiming to be an expert on Islam, everybody now giving their opinion on Islam. Oh, this is like this is like that, this is like that. You're seeing so many podcasts now, you're seeing so many things. Okay, all on this, especially like I said on our social media sort of platforms, we're seeing so many things now, and youngsters particularly prefer to watch that. They like to see some, I don't know, I'm not going to name names, but I'm sure those of you who are in those kind of circles will know the sort of people that I'm referring to. And they'll watch that, and they'll spend hours watching this and whatever. And when someone, he'll do something, and you will say, brother, Yani Shari, this is not permissible what you're doing. You've gathered lots of sisters together, you guys have got together, and you're talking about intimate relationships on a podcast in front of people. This is not inappropriate. So instead of saying, Jazakallah khair, brother, thanks for pointing that out, I seek forgiveness. Obviously one step leads to another, which led to another, and I've ended up in this place. Instead, that person starts debating. Instead, that person starts arguing. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ, and then there are other people who have sold themselves in order to seek the pleasure of Allah. That's all they do. Wallahu ra'ufun bil ibad. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fis silmi kaffa. O those of you who believe, when you enter into Islam, then enter in it completely, totally. Don't pick and choose. Don't adopt those practices in Islam which you're comfortable with and abandon those which you find a little bit unpalatable. That's not Islam. That's you making your own religion. Islam is a religion. It's already determined. It's already fixed. Now you either choose that or you choose another way of life. But what you don't do is go in and say, yeah, I accept that part, accept this part. Ooh, not so sure about that. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. Who made you the shari? Who made you the person who is now legislating what Islam is and what Islam isn't? At least be honest with yourself. At least be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I appreciate, I should be doing this, I'm not doing that. I should be doing this, I'm not doing that. I should be doing this, I'm not doing that. Make dua for me, I'm trying to improve. Not to say that, well, this is what I'm comfortable with in Islam in the 21st century. This is how Islam should be. This is the way it is. We have to enter it in totality, kafa. Because if we don't, what are we doing? وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. We are just following the footsteps of shaitan. And he will justify it to us, trust me. Sometimes you will make the most preposterous argument to justify a particular position. You know, if we put our ego to one side and you analyze it afterwards with an open mind and a fair mind, you'll think, you know what, that was a ridiculous argument I just had. Right, what a load of codswallop. Yeah? But when you're in that state of mind, you'll justify it. When you're in that state of mind, you'll argue the case. Innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. Why? Because if you do follow the shaitan's footsteps, he ain't helping you out of this argument. He ain't putting you in a good position. He's just leading you to the fire. That's all he's doing. And you're just following along. He's the piper. And you're the rat that's following. فَإِن زَلَلْتُم مِّن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْكُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. And if you slip after had the bayinat have come to you, the proofs have come to you, Allah SWT, look how clearly He's explaining things. You know, even a 7-8-year-old child will understand this. It's not so complicated. You know, it's not like you're trying to explain, you know, astrophysics or something. You're explaining something which is so simple and anybody would see, yeah, you know, if you're entering into a particular mindset or worldview, then you've got to accept the whole worldview. You can't sort of, you know, it's a simple kind of thing, isn't it? It's not like a complicated concept. So once all these proofs come to you, once these bayinat come one after the other, whether it's the verses of the Quran, whether it's, you know, scientific facts or whatever some person sees around them, they know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Aziz and He is Hakeem. هل ينظرون إلا أن يأتيهم الله في زلل من الغمام والملائكة وقضي الأمر وإلى الله ترجع الأمور. Is it that they wait for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to descend in the shade of clouds with the angels and the matter is settled? Many people say, you know what, if only I had an opening, a vision, I had a voice saying believe in Islam. Or maybe the sky split asunder and I just saw maybe a corner of the arsh or something. You know, if only I had something like that, I'd believe. Yeah, I just need just a little bit of convincing. I just need to see something. I need to experience something. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if that time comes, when the ghaib becomes zahir in front of your eyes, then it's done. It's Yawm al-Qiyamah. This is the method that Allah SWT has used, to use bayinats, to use proof, to use eloquence of arguments, to use reasoning, to play signs. That is His method. When He shows Himself, when you see the bridge across Jahannam, when you see the 2 pans on the scales, when you see the fountain, Al-Kawthar, when you see the gates of heaven, then it's done. There's nothing to believe in anymore. It's over. The believing has to come before that. At that point, you are seeing. You are no longer believing. And Iman is to believe without seeing. Is to believe without seeing. So many of us are waiting for that, a kind of a real epiphany, so to speak, where we want to visualize something. We want to see something that is beyond, so we can accept it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, then that matter is done, and then all matters return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sal Bani Israel, kama ataynahum min ayatin bayyinah. And if this is the argument you're going to make, then ask the people who came before you. Because this is the same kind of arguments they made. And what they would do is they would say to them, ask them, how many proofs came to them? How many signs came to them? وَمَن يُبَدِّلْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And whomsoever changes a ni'mah that has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then indeed he is very severe in retribution. زُيِّنَ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. And has been beautified for those people who deny Allah the life of this world. وَيَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And they mock and ridicule those people who believe. These people believe this, they believe this, they believe that. Old tales, ancient tales, made up stuff. Stories about fairies in the garden. They will use that reduction ad absurdum arguments. Or they believe in, their prophet got on a flying horse. Can you imagine that? And they do it in a mocking way. They do it in a, to ridicule, to learn how to speak English, to ridicule. Yeah? They're not doing it in order to sort of, describe these people. They're doing it to ridicule these people. Like, they believe in trees in the sky. What kind of people are these people? And we're letting them become doctors. And we're letting them become that. And this is their beliefs. They believe in fairies. So this is the argument that's made. They're mocking the believers. وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. However, those people who believe, then their superiority will be shown. But their superiority will be shown on the great day. Hence, they need to remain patient in the meantime. They cannot, demand Allah to change His timetable. They cannot demand Allah to say, work on our schedule. Allah SWT works on His own schedule. Wallahu yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab. Kana an-nasu ummatan wahida. The people are actually one nation. Faba'atha Allahu an-nabiyyina, and then what Allah does, He sends anbiya. What for? Mubashirina. They either give glad tidings to the believers, wa munzirina, and they warn those who haven't accepted yet. Wa anzala ma'ahu al-kitaba bil-haqq, and He sends down with the Nabi a book with the truth. Why? Liyahkuma bayna an-nas, in order that He may use it to judge amongst the people. For what purpose? Fi makhtalafu fi, in that which they dispute. وَمَا اخْتَلَفَ فِيهِ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ. And they will not dispute except those who were given from that which came in the proofs, بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ, as a hatred between them. Why is it this Nabi has come from this lineage when all the Anbiya came from this lineage? Why is it that the Arabs have a Nabi when we've had the Anbiya? So it wasn't a factual point, there was a disagreement. It was solely on this particular point there was a disagreement. فَهَدَى اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. So Allah SWT then guided those who believe in which they disputed مِنَ الْحَقِّ بِإِذْنِهِ وَاللَّهُ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ. And Allah SWT guides whoever He wills إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ, towards the straight path. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةِ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. Did you think that you would enter Jannah without similar to what came to those who came from before you? Meaning, did you not think you would be tested? You think Jannah is a free ride? You know how difficult it is to save for a Porsche. You know how difficult it is to save for a Ferrari. You know how difficult it is to buy a house in London. You know how difficult it is to buy a green bin in London. SubhanAllah. You can get like a semi-detached 3-bedroom in Bradford. You just about get a green bin here. And it's a second-hand green bin. It's not even a new one. My point is how much we strive, what you go through. Ask a person who's becoming a doctor. The poor guy's got to go to school. After school, he's got to go to college. After college, he's got to go to uni. After that, he's got to go medical. Then he's got to become a junior doctor. Then he's got to work like 900 hours in 24 hours. Don't know how he does it. Obviously, maths is not their strong point, doctors. Then he's got to do that for like 15 years. And then when he's like about 96, they give him a job. And yet he thinks it's worth it. That becoming a doctor is worth it. Why? Because I'll be on, as a GP, I'll be on 70K, I'll be on 80K. It's a nice cushy number. And if I want to specialize, I could be on 100K, I could do a bit private, I could do this, I could do that. So he's putting 20, 30 years of his life into that. So how difficult do you think he's going to be getting into Jannah? Easy than becoming a doctor? And that's where we're confused, isn't it? We want it easy. So what happened? مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَى. Poverty afflicted them. وَالضَّرَّى. And pain and difficulties and calamities. وَزُلْزِلُوا. And the earth shook. حَتَّى يَقُولُ الرَّسُولُ until even their messenger وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ and even those people who believe with him said, مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ when will the help of Allah come? This is mentioned that Khabbab ibn Arat Ghaliban radiyallahu anhu, he was one of the early converts to Islam. A bit like Ammar ibn Yasir radiyallahu anhu and his mother and father Yasir and Sumayya radiyallahu anhu. They were slaves, so they didn't have clan protection like the other Muslims had. So they were tortured. They were tortured by their masters. And they were beaten, and they would be taken out every day, tied up, whipped, spat at, ridiculed, kicked. Kids would throw stones at them, and then they would be brought back. And this is not like for a day or 2 days. This was day after day after day. And the Sahaba who had clan protection would go out and say, Isbir, be patient, be patient, be patient. We know obviously Sumayya was actually then killed as a consequence. She became Shahida as a result. Similarly, it was his father, Ammar's father. So when they were going through this, they went to the Prophet ﷺ and they said, Ya Rasulullah, make dua. So the Prophet ﷺ responded and said that the people who came before you, they would be split down the middle. They would have iron combs used to rip their flesh away from their bones. And they never asked their Nabi to make dua. You are a hasty people. And we don't suffer anything and we're always saying, oh, where's Allah's help? Yeah, when is he going to come to do this? When is he going to come to do that? Just because we're detached from our history. See what the Sahaba went through in Mecca. Go on some seerah course. Sit with the ulama, learn what they went through. And this was happening in front of the Prophet ﷺ. Then think of the 2-3 years where they were boycotted and they stayed in the valleys of Mecca with no food, no water. This is the Prophet ﷺ, the most beloved human to Allah. And this is what he had to endure. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ They ask you regarding what they should spend. قُلْ مَا أَنْفَقْتُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ That whatever you spend, فَلِلْوَالِدَيْنِ Then for the parents, وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ And those who are close, وَالْيَتَامَى And the orphans, وَالْمَسَاكِينَ And the poor, وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ And the wayfarer. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ And whatever good you do, whatever good you do, whatever quantity it is, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of it. You don't need to broadcast it. You don't need to tell anybody about it. He is aware of it. And if you want your ajr from him, then leave it like that. If you want if you want other people to do the shabash for you, then okay, tell people. But then don't turn up on the day of Jummah and say, oh Allah, I did this. Where's my due? Where's my ajr? Because then the angels are going to point out, oh, wait a minute. You did it for the shabash. You did it for the likes. You did it for the retweets. You did it for this. You did it for that. Why are you now collecting here? You collected already in the dunya. And this is the whole concept of shirk, isn't it? Is when we ascribe partners with Allah and we do deeds for Allah and do deeds for the people at the same time. This is the concept of shirk. And we stop there, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.